Hey everyone, this is Cassie Green, Content Director of Apparelist and Editor at Printing United Alliance.
And this is Christine Shreve, founder of the Women in Garment Decoration Facebook group.
And you're listening to Threads of Change, a new kind of discussion for the printing industry.
It's time to talk about how we can inspire change. Our conversations will feature topics such as how we can build a more diverse environment at trade shows, what resources are needed to support underrepresented communities, and more.
We might be tackling some tough topics, but we're hoping you'll join us on this journey to be the change we want to see in the industry.
Come along with us. The next episode starts right now.
Well, welcome everybody to the summer July 2026 episode of Threads of Change. Right now, I hope everybody listening is staying cool and drinking plenty of water. There is some really intense heat across the country. And so just, stay cool, stay safe out there, everybody. But this month, we are joined by an absolute queen. And Christine, I couldn't be more excited for the conversation. We're talking about how to handle sensitive HR issues in the workplace. Are you pumped as I am?
Yay. This is especially for smaller businesses that don't necessarily have formal HR. I have worked at some of those and I can tell you, done poorly, it's just, how do I put this politely? It's a shit show. It's just not good.
That really puts a fine point on it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and you can really have a rotten work experience if your HR is not well done. So I'm really excited that we're going to get some tips and some help on how to do it properly.
Yes. Well, speaking of that, since we do need an expert, I have who I consider the premier expert on the topic, Adriane Harrison, VP of Human Relations Consulting for Printing United Alliance. Adriane, so happy to have you.
Hi, Christine. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you, so I appreciate you inviting me here.
Well, a professional HR person is such a jewel because they do so many things that are important.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, but I think there are plenty of people that don't think of us as jewels. But it's okay. It's okay. We live with that.
Usually the people that don't think of you as jewels are the people that want to trespass on some sort of rule. And they're like, no, don't catch me. Don't tell me I can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, before we get too deep into that, first, there might be some listeners, Adriane, who maybe never met you, don't know your entrance into the industry. So let's get a brief introduction to you. What got your career going and how did you land in the role you're in today?
So the 30-second elevator pitch is that I've been in the industry almost exactly 10 years now, and I've been doing HR for 15 years. And like many HR people of my fresh vintage, we have stumbled into the role through other ways. It's a very circuitous path that got me here that involved other careers that preceded it, and then somebody ditching the role and desperation. Adriane, will you do it? And I did. So that's how I got into HR. So I did not have what now is like you can go to college and get a major and do all that. I did not have that path. But my background is as an attorney, which helps me get through sort of the complicated regulatory aspects of the job and understand the sort of responsibilities when you read those regulations, what it really means in, layman's terms. So
I love that. Well, I just want to kind of highlight right at the top of this something that I hear a lot that I think is wrong, and I want you to address it, which is I live in Northern Michigan. I've worked with a lot of smaller family-owned companies, and the HR person is often like the sister or the daughter. They're not somebody that's trained, and the attitude is kind of, well, HR doesn't matter. We're a small company. It's a family. We don't need, I'm like, do you know how dysfunctional families are? Come on,
right,
man.
exactly.
But could you just address a little bit why HR is important? I mean, it seems like it's self-evident, but maybe not. So can you explain it?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, the key aspect of having a company is having people who will make the company's product or do the services. And so the human element is a critically important part of the business plan. So you need to keep the humans and you need to keep them happy and you need to have them work productively for you and with you. And it'd be even a nicer thing if y'all got along. So HR, just in sort of those terms, affects every single business, whether you are a family business or not. And as you said, families are very dysfunctional. So having an HR framework in place, I think helps. If it's only family, good luck with that. That's a really hard thing to sell. But if it's family plus others, you have to have it in place no matter what.
Yeah. It's sounding like even with all of these small businesses, family run or not, like you should have something formal. Don't just fly by the seat of your pants.
I'm telling you now, if you want somebody else to own your business or put you out of business, just fly by the seat of your pants. And, pretty soon you won't have to worry about it because you're not going to have a company anymore because you're going to make a really bad mistake and somebody's going to sue you. And that's it. They're going to own you. And that's not like hyperbole. That can happen and it will happen if you're not careful. So yeah, it's important.
Well, I also think there's something there that, and this happened to me, which is how I know it. You can be a really valuable person at a company, but their HR stinks and they don't protect your rights or they don't act on your complaints or whatever it is. And yeah, you might sue them, but you might also go, you know what? I can take my valuable self somewhere else.
Well, 100%. And in a community that's not large, all you have to do is leave angry and tell your, 5 best friends. And guess what? Those 5 best friends are going to tell their 5 other friends. And that is going to spread like wildfire in a small community. And then good luck if you're that business owner trying to find somebody who will work there that's, a valued person. You might get somebody who can't get any other job and they'll work there, but that I'm guessing is not the preference. What you do want is productive people to come work at your company and help you be productive. And if you are a terrible employer with bad HR, guess what? The word's out and nobody's going to take that job.
Well, and it doesn't even have to be like your local community. I mean, our industry is not that big. The number of people that contacted me after I left the company I was working for, because I was very well known as part of that company. And they're like, what happened? Why did you leave? What are they going to do? Oh my God. And I was like,
sure.
I don't know. I'm out.
Yeah.
So,
no, absolutely. Absolutely right. I mean, printing is the biggest small industry you'll ever know. Right. And the subset, apparel decoration, the absolutely. I mean, look, I had a conversation with somebody in Pittsburgh after I got back from the apparel decoration summit. And I mentioned, I met this other person from Pittsburgh in my industry. The person I was talking to is a lawyer, not in printing at all. And they're like, oh, I know so-and-so. And they knew immediately who I talked to because they had done some work in apparel decoration and they knew that person. So, I mean, it was like, oh, wow. Okay. Just to, again, put a fine point on it. It is a small industry. And if you behave badly, people are going to know and they are not going to want to work for you. So
I want to noodle on this a little bit more before we kind of get into the heart of our discussion today. So let's talk about how to set up something a little more formal, because Christina and I were kind of discussing this, offline. Most of apparel decorators, and you commented on this as well, Adriane, they don't have formal training. They don't have a formal department. They think it's fine to just, put their sister in charge or whatever. But because they should have something formal, is there like a recommended batch of tips or things that they should be following that you can give them? Like, hey, here's how you get started. Here's how to implement it. You should have a guidebook. You should have these. Like, what are the things they absolutely must have?
Right. If you have the money, and that's a big if when you're starting a small business and you're hiring a couple people, you should hire a payroll company. Payroll company then will handle that part of compliance where you pay them what you're supposed to, you withhold the taxes you're supposed to, you keep track of all the things you're supposed to. But they also will have other services that you can purchase from them. So, you can get employee handbook policies from them that are compliant in your region. And that, I think, is worth repeating. There are unique laws in every municipality, every state, every county can pass their own laws. They don't all do that, but it certainly is within their realm. And so unless you have brought yourself up to speed on what your county and your state are doing, much less the federal government, there's a pretty complicated regulatory framework that you have to work within, and the payroll companies will know that, and they will have a handbook that they can say, oh, you're in this county in Portage County in Indiana, sure, here's a handbook, it's fully compliant for Portage County, Indiana, federal, state, local, and that gives you a jumping off point. And once you have that handbook, you've paid for it, you can keep it updated at a low cost. Also, if you join the association, like, I'm not here to sell you Printing United Alliance, but if you are a Printing United Alliance member, you have someone like me. Well, you have me. You don't have someone like me. You actually have me. And I have resources and I can help you. And I just got a call this morning from a member in suburban Chicago about a parental leave issue. And so I was able to answer their question. It didn't cost them a dime other than the overall membership cost, which is not expensive. And then that was it. If they called a lawyer and asked the same question, they would have got a bill for several $100s. Right. And I did it in 10 minutes for free. So, joining your local association or an association can provide that. They may or may not have HR. Actually, again, something unique about Printing United Alliances, as far as I know, we are the only association for the printing industry that has a dedicated HR practice, also environmental health and safety dedicated practice that works together. So there are other associations that offer EHS or HR through consultants, but and they're great, I'm sure, but I'm not dissing them. But you get the whole package with your membership here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, since you brought up fielding a call this morning, let's dig into that, because that's Christine and I are very excited to sort of look into that, because there are a lot of sensitive issues that companies, families, everybody has to deal with, right?
There are.
And we're talking everything from, like, what you mentioned, like parental leave and those types of laws and regulations, all the way to, like, internal employees having issues with each other, right? There's, like, this gamut of things. Right. So when we're talking about, like, these more difficult topics, I mean, are there some common ones that you see in the industry? Are there some, like, general scenarios that you see crop up, or is it just could be anything that these businesses have to be ready to deal with?
Well, I think that, it's a tale as old as time. It's relationships between employees that involve intimate relationships between employees. Okay. And if one of those employees is supervised by another employee, that creates complications. And it's not our industry. It's everywhere. It happens everywhere all the time. And so those are, things that I think you have to be ready for, is the fact that one of your employees is going to have an intimate relationship with another one of your employees. And again, if it's a supervisor employee situation, that's verboten, that you cannot do that. But also then inevitably those relationships don't always work out. And when they break up, now you have two very unhappy employees working in the same place, perhaps even side by side in your facility, and that is also complicating. So you have to be ready, I think, always for that. That is an issue. And the stories that have arrived from those types of things are big. I think the other really, really big one that is I think every company faces, they don't all have to come to me on these issues, but I hear them regularly, is substance abuse and substance addiction issues. That is a fairly complicated issue because it can invoke the Americans with Disability Act and things of that nature, as well as safety issues, OSHA issues. So that, and I'd be delighted to know that a company has never faced an issue where they have somebody that works for them that has addiction, but it's very common and you have to be ready for that. Those are probably the two things you have to be really ready for to deal with within your facility.
Printing United Expo is where the entire printing industry unites under one roof. Explore cutting-edge technology from over 800 exhibitors, see live product demonstrations, and discover solutions that can transform your business. With exclusive education sessions, expert insights, and endless networking opportunities, this is the must-attend event for anyone in print. No matter your role, Printing United Expo delivers the innovation, connections, and knowledge to help you stay ahead. Join us this September 23rd to the 25th in Las Vegas. Learn more at printingunited.com and experience the future of print today.
Okay. Now I have a question because this happened to me and I've always wondered how to deal with it. So I worked at a place where there was an employee. I was telling Cassie this story, I think, when you first came into the studio. I worked for a place that had this employee that was a senior manager who was just an ogre. He was horrible. He was horrible to everybody. We all complained to the owner. We all complained to HR. And the response was basically, you got to deal with him. We're not going to fire him. We're not going to take him to task for anything. I think the owner was honestly scared of him. So he made everybody else's life awful in a lot of ways. And we had no recourse. So I guess my question is there a recourse if your HR company, if your HR people or the owner of the company, other than just going, well, we're done. Bye.
It depends. Ogre covers a lot of behavior, so it just depends on what the behavior is. So let me first say that the way to manage that was not to say it's your problem, just deal with it. The way to manage it, and look, it's not fun, but it isn't actually complicated to figure out. The person who is behaving badly needs to have performance feedback and, things written up and performance improvement plans to have them be a better manager. And then also the owner, if they really think this person is a big contributor to their company's success, which they probably do because otherwise they just fire them, but they need to send them to training to learn how to communicate with others or manage their anger or whatever it is, So invest in sending that manager to training and holding them accountable through performance feedback. So that's how you manage that situation. The toxic manager is the result of very high turnover, and it's a big expense to a company. So this will, even though they're investing money in trying to help this person be a better manager, they are probably at the end of the day going to save money through cutting the churn of having to find new people, train new people, the weight on productivity as those processes happen. So that's how it should have been handled. How you as an employee can manage that. If you are confronted with somebody who's, I don't know what I can say on this podcast. I'm just going to say a jerk. They're just a jerk. Okay. And they're a yeller and they're a crappy communicator and all that stuff. That's not really actionable. That is not harassment. They're a jerk to everybody, whatever. And you should just think about leaving because if they're not going to be taken care of, that is the environment you'll have to work in. If that person has demonstrated behavior that is actionable, such as sexual harassment or discrimination, and they have made your workplace a place that's almost impossible to be due to their actions, if they call people names, if they touch you inappropriately, if they make jokes at your expense that are loaded with innuendo or maybe they're just not innuendo, maybe it just is outright, discrimination, then that is actionable and you can file a complaint with the EEOC, and let them know. So,
yeah.
And
Okay.
that
Well, that's
process is
helpful.
not
I wish
easy, and it's
I'm
not
sorry.
guaranteed. That process isn't easy. It's not guaranteed. You get a lawyer, this is a very drawn out proceeding, but it's a wake up call to the owner of the company when they get a call from, an investigator that says, you have created this environment that has caused somebody to file a complaint, and we're going to come and check it out and take testimony from people to find out what's happening. So,
well, I wish I'd had you as a resource those many years ago, because it could have made a difference, but oh well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. And often the person who's the ogre doesn't even know they're the ogre, right?
Oh, I think they were aware.
Okay.
I think they kind of liked it, honestly. It was a power trip sort of thing, I think. But anyway, neither here nor there. But it is amazing, I think, how one person can just completely change the atmosphere of a company. I think that's something that HR can be really helpful with too, is hiring people who fit into a company culture.
Well, yes, but I'm going to challenge that statement, because fit into a company culture is not, that can lead to discrimination, and it can lead to lack of opportunity. I came of age in a world where, when I was practicing law, and in particular, I was a litigator, fitting into the company culture meant I needed to be white, I needed to be Catholic or Jewish, I needed to be a man, and I needed to golf. And if I didn't do those things, and I did not do any of those things, it was a much more difficult process to become established in my career. I had to swim really hard against the current to get a good job and to do the things. And I think that is how we perpetuate certain stereotypes within our own industry, is that we hire to fit into a culture. And if your culture is, I like to drink beer and watch hockey, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I myself enjoy those things. But if that is the culture, then you are closing off a large faction of potential employees who do not drink beer and play hockey or enjoy watching hockey, right? So, So HR people can, yes, make really wise and good hiring decisions. And hopefully those are based on not just the skills that people have, but the potential that they have. Because you may, as we well know, it is hard to hire anybody with experience into our industry, right? Those days have been over for a long time, where there's all sorts of people that have printing company experience that are looking for jobs. That they're not growing on trees. So what you have to do is find somebody who demonstrates skills that are adjacent or interested in learning, or have other characteristics of their character and skill that would communicate that they would, in fact, be somebody who'd be willing to learn, who would be all in, who would be a good investment, and who won't just learn and leave, right? So HR people are good at spotting those people.
Okay, well, then I have a follow-up question, because having read a lot about running companies and HR, as that's kind of the advice that is often given, is find people that fit your culture. So what should we be saying instead of find people that fit your culture? I guess I'm just wondering how to phrase that differently, because everything you said makes total sense. But if you read a lot of the HR advice out there for business owners, it's find people who fit your culture.
Well, I think the idea is to fit in the culture versus embrace the culture, right? you don't have to, again, love drinking beer and playing hockey or watching hockey to really enjoy the people that do, right?
Sure.
So I think it's people who would embrace the culture, maybe,
I
rather than
like that better.
fit into the culture. And then you've only changed a couple of little words and it's easier.
Yeah, I like that because I think you're right. It makes a big difference. If you find people that are willing to be open to new experiences and new attitudes and aren't closed off into their one little thing, then okay, that makes sense. But I think that's, like I said, that's advice I've seen a lot, and I would, so I wanted to kind of reframe that a little bit.
Look, when I was hiring for an organization, and to this day, I don't really do hiring anymore, but when I was hiring for any, and I've been on, you cannot imagine how many hiring committees, every single job I've ever been on, whether I was an HR person or not, I'm always in that loop. I go on their social media and I see if they are doing things on social media that are repellent to many of the people who work within the company, right? And more than once, I have rejected candidates for things I have seen on their social media that would make me think that others within the company might be unsafe, physically unsafe, right? I mean, so that in some ways is rejecting somebody because I don't think they would embrace the culture. They seem really hostile to a variety of people who work within the building. So, you have to be smart about it.
Well, it's also a really good note to everyone to make sure that you're aware of what you're putting on your social media and that potential employers could be looking at it. So if you're going to be a jerk.
They should be looking at it. It shouldn't be a could be looking at it.
They should be looking at it. But I mean, I've always done, whenever I've done hiring, that's one of the first places I go. But I'm a marketer. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, HR people are marketers. I've said this for so long. We are risk advisors and we are marketers because we want people to come work for our company. And that, requires marketing to your future workforce. And we want to eliminate or reduce the risk for our employers by hiring well, by being compliant with laws, by, taking care of problems as in a process that is as protective as possible of the company, right? But also, be a human, right? Be a good human.
That's sometimes the hardest one, being a human.
Yeah.
Real quick before because I know we're kind of approaching the end of our episode. Something you said that has been kind of like sticking in my mind, Adriane, is, how an employee can make a report, like file a report or things like that. And it can be a wake up call to the owner. But I'm curious, let's change perspectives. If I'm the owner, how do I ensure I'm obviously you want to follow good HR practices and just be a good human, right? But how do you ensure you're kind of like protecting yourself too from those sorts of situations and making sure you're set up to like handle, like, you know what does my question make sense? Making sure like you're protecting your business and yourself.
In so many situations, the owner is doing the HR, right? Is that, so you, so if somebody wants to complain about you, who do they go to complain about you first? And what the answer to that question is, if you have enough people working at the company, you set up a secondary person so that there are two people who can be, for whom who can hear HR complaints, right? Yeah. So that's one. Two, you need to document everything. Every single thing gets documented in real time when it's happening. If you are having a meeting with somebody, you're going to take notes, and then you're going to convert those notes with a narrative, and you are going to immediately put them in a quote file. And these days there are no paper files, but you're going to save that document in that person's employment file, and you are going to have documented with dates and times and names of every single thing that happened and the advice that you gave. And hopefully you are not swimming outside your, depth. Right. And if you are going to refer this issue to a local employment attorney. But also, I feel like there's a huge need, and frankly, I should do it. I should open a company that does fractional HR for apparel decorators, so that they offer services for different HR services for apparel decorators or whoever, so that they can, go to a trusted person that they pay a monthly, fee to and say, this just happened. Here are my notes. What should we do? And so that then gives you professional advice. I, again, serve that role for our members. So that is the bread and butter of my interactions with members, is they will call me and say, okay, Adriane, I have to fire this person, or this person did this. I think I have to fire them. Do I have to fire them? And then I'll make them tell the whole story and all the things, and I'll tell them all the documenting that they need to do. And some people are firing prematurely. So I will say, no, do not fire them yet. Do this, do this, do this. And then if you need to, fire them. I've had people rehearse with me what they're going to say as they walk into the room to fire people. I have been on the phone on speaker set on the table for people being let go because they want to make sure they don't screw it up. I mean, have a backup plan, right? Yeah. Have some professional backup to help you not make a mistake and then get sued. Here's the other thing, and I hope we're not out of time, but I say this all the time. Anybody can sue anyone for anything. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. I can sue Christine tomorrow for something that she never said and never did. But that lawsuit is going to get filed. Now, it will get dismissed down the line, but it will get filed and it will cost money to defend that lawsuit. Here's the thing. If an employee wants to say that you did something and they have no proof and you did not do it, they have to hire an attorney usually. They typically would not do it on their own. They would hire an attorney to file a lawsuit. But no attorney worth their salt is ever going to take that. They're not going to accept that. The person hiring them doesn't have the money to pay them, so it's I get paid only if we win situation. And in that situation, you need to protect yourself by setting up enough systems in place so that if you get a threatening letter from an attorney that says, my client says you did this, you will in turn be able to respond on this day, your client did this, on your client missed 17 days of work. They, blah, blah, blah. They were given a warning this day, this day, this day. And that attorney is going to run for the hills. So he's never going to take that lawsuit, and you're never going to get sued, and you're never going to have to pay for a legal defense. So
track everything, document everything. Love it.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Well, I love that because it just drives home the fact that having the documentation can save you so much pain. Because people a lot of times will go, oh, it's such a pain in the behind. I have to take notes and I have to type them up and I have to remember to do that. And I'm like, yeah, but if somebody sues your behind, it's going to be worth it.
Right. You'll be so grateful that you have that documentation.
Yeah.
And that it's simultaneous. Like it happens at the time the event is happening. It's not 2 months later where you're working from memory. Block out an hour every week to go through HR documentation. And maybe you don't have any, but maybe you have some. But if you block out, Fridays at 2:00 to do that, then, it sits on your calendar, okay, on Friday at 2:00, I'm going to do this. I'm going to convert those notes.
It's also good advice for an employee that's in a bad situation too.
Yeah.
Be documenting everything. Have notes about everything.
Because if I was still
you have to prove
practicing law, this is what my business cards would just say, document everything. In fact, I would name my law firm Document Everything.
Document everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to
trademark. I'm going to trademark that as a law name.
Right, the record of it.
Yeah,
on file now. Witnesses.
Yeah.
Innocent.
This will get published, hilarious. And then I'm the trademark.
But it's true. I mean, I think that's your proof.
But well, good, Adriane. Wow, we could definitely keep going on this
Oh,
because
yeah.
I feel like everyone in our industry probably has a lot of questions. I know you've helped a lot of the members. I know we've connected, I've had the pleasure of connecting you with some of the apparel decorators. So I would encourage everyone, we'll put in the show notes some resources. If you're not a member, if you want to consider it, to have access to people like Adriane, that's definitely I think should be on the table. But Adriane, where can people go to kind of like learn a little bit more, maybe connect with you, see what it's all about?
Well, you can email me at aharrison@printing.org. Printing.org has a website called the Center for Human Resources Support. I don't know if you can I think you can get to the landing page without being a member, but then once you're there, some things are behind a paywall. But yeah, so that's the best way to see what we have. We're redoing our website, so I'm not posting on there too much, but in the fall, it'll have a lot of resources that'll be easier to find when we roll out the new website. Also, yeah, just call me. My number is available, and just call me and we can chat through things, and I can, whether you're a member or not a member, I can point you in the right direction, or I can flat out try to solve your problem for you. So it depends on your status. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining the show again. I hope everybody listening has enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, Christine.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And a reminder to people, too, that often there are comment sections wherever the podcast is posted. So if you leave a question, there's a very good chance you'll get an answer.
Yes.
We like seeing the comments because that means we know that you're listening. So just throwing it out there.
Let's hear it. Awesome. Well, again, thank you, Adriane. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me. And please feel free to reach out.
Hey everyone, this is Cassie Green, Content Director of Apparelist and Editor at Printing United Alliance.
And this is Christine Shreve, founder of the Women in Garment Decoration Facebook group.
And you're listening to Threads of Change, a new kind of discussion for the printing industry.
It's time to talk about how we can inspire change. Our conversations will feature topics such as how we can build a more diverse environment at trade shows, what resources are needed to support underrepresented communities, and more.
We might be tackling some tough topics, but we're hoping you'll join us on this journey to be the change we want to see in the industry.
Come along with us. The next episode starts right now.